coffee, of course, and it's kind of weird for you to just keep your own snacks to yourself. You start speaking to me in Korean and I'm like, 죄송합니다, 한국말 잘 못해요. Like, such a huge culture shock. Yeah, I guess you can't generalize. This guy was just so fixed on me, and I was just speaking to this girl like, thank you so much, you're a lifesaver. And then, oh, your face is so small. Hi everybody, welcome to my channel.
머리를 빗는 이 빗소리 밖엔 비가 오나 봐 들리는 빗방울들이 땅에 떨어지는 소리 전해지는 전생고 대체 뭐야 너는 비법이 아침에 일어나서 부은 눈이 너무 아름다운 너희들로 조금만 더 누워있길 바래 조금만 이제는 어디까지 보다 잤지 여기서부터 다시 보면 되겠지 틀어놓을 테니까 이 영화를 넌 보며 먹을 맥주 한 캔과 과자를 사 우리 하루 종일 뒹굴거리면서 다시 뒹굴거리고 또 입을 맞추면서 다시 입을 맞추네 또 다시 입을 안으로 들어가 따뜻한 장판에 몸을 녹여 따뜻하.
So today I want to speak about some of the culture differences that I experienced in Korea. You know, as being a foreigner in Korea, how I experienced that. So I'm not going to talk about this in any particular order. I'm just going to go with, I haven't made a list or anything. I'm just going to go with what I remember, how different everything was. So first of all, disclaimer before I carry on with the video. I just want to say, I'm not saying one culture is better than the other. I'm not hating, I'm not batting any cultural differences. Cultures are different and you can't say yours is better or worse because they're just different, and that's it. Just before I carry on with this video, before I get hate comments, okay. Korea being a very homogenous culture, I really stood out. I mean, look at me, I'm not Korean, so of course I got stared at a lot on the subway. Okay, so I don't know if I should talk about first the negative things, then the positive things, or just kind of mash them all up together, if you can consider them negative or positive. Okay, but the one thing that I just remembered now was, speaking of the subway, sometimes I would get onto the subway, sit down, and a Korean person sitting next to me would just get up and go sit somewhere else. And this, at first it happened, I was like, okay, maybe it's just whatever, like maybe they just they may want more space next to them. But this happened multiple times. It even happened once where the subway was full. I found a vacant seat, I sat down, and then the person stood up and went to stand on the other side, and they were standing instead of sitting next to me. They didn't want to sit next to me. And this happened so many times. Also being stared at. There's like, sometimes this one woman was just staring at me, like she didn't even move her eyes once. I was just, you know, holding the subway handle, and I was just minding my own business, and she was just staring at me like this. And you know how in Western culture you normally look away if someone's staring at you, you kind of move your eyes. She didn't even flinch at all. I stared at her back, and then I was just like looking at her like, lady, what do you want, you know? For the first time, a lady also smiled at me. So normally, like, strangers don't really smile. Yeah, I guess you can't generalize and say, you know, culture's this way, it's not this way. Because everyone is different, of course. But just little things like they don't hold the door for you here. I thought that was quite strange. And then so I still hold the door for people even if they don't do it here. Also, obviously the food is completely different. Everything's so the fruit is very expensive there. They eat a lot of meat. In Korean culture, you eat a lot of meat, right? So every time you go out for dinner or for lunch with friends, you usually have like a Korean barbecue. So obviously I never tasted it, but I loved all the side dishes. I really, really loved them. In fact, I'm craving it now. The side dish is really nice, and then you kind of share a meal. And in Korea, everything, when you eat, you always share your food. Even when I was teaching and I had snacks in class, like your kids expect you to give them. So I would obviously give them, but like everything, you share everything. Like it's kind of weird for you to just keep your own snacks to yourself. In the work, when you're at work, there's a very definite hierarchy depending on your age and your position in the company. So in Korean, the word 친구 means friend, but not friend as we know it. So it means someone who's the same age as you. So you can't really be friends with someone who's not the same age as you. So you'll be treated differently automatically if you're younger. And there are a lot of things like that when you're the younger person. Let's say you're going out with your co-workers and your boss. The younger person, if you're drinking alcohol, the younger person, I don't drink, but if you're the younger person, you have to pour the alcohol, and then you should turn away. When you're drinking alcohol, you turn away like this. It's polite to turn away, especially from your boss. And then also I think the oldest person usually pays the bill, or the boss or the oldest person in the company, so that's a plus, right? But there are a lot of things like that also with couples. A lot of the activities, a lot of things to do, you know, a lot of social activities were catered to couples. So there's so many couple activities and couple photo spot, they're called photo spot, like photo spots. And aesthetics are, wow. A lot of girls would get plastic surgery. Girls between the ages of 18 and 29 or something would get plastic surgery, so they get double eyelid surgery, and that's just a normal occurrence to get double eyelid surgery. Like your nose, eyes widening. A lot of girls had their eyes widened and a lot of surgeries like that. In Korea, you don't speak on the phone. Like, I found that quite nice, is that people are very respectful of each other's space and each other's peace in a way. So on the bus or the subway or whatever, or the KTX, you don't talk, you don't make any noise. You're doing everything to try not disturb the other person. So you don't speak loudly on the phone, you don't talk really, you can whisper, but people are just polite that way, I guess. And apparently also chewing gum is very rude. I didn't know that. Someone told me. I don't know if it's true, but... Hi everyone. So this is editing Katarina with lots of snacks and coffee, of course, and coffee. And I forgot to mention one thing that I just thought of, that I was just annoyed that I didn't mention in the video, is that everything is done with 2 hands. So when you pay, wait, I need to put the camera down so you can see. So when you pay, everything is done with 2 hands like this. If you don't do it like that, you can just touch your other arm, but everything is done like this. So when you pay, when you take something, when you give a business card, when you receive a business card, yeah. So, and then bowing is how you say hello. So you bow, 안녕하세요, to say thank you. Also when you're leaving, you bow. That's just how they greet each other. That's just a little side note that I wanted to mention, and let's get back to the video. What's nice about Korea is that it's really, really safe. So you always feel completely safe. But one time I was on this line, so it was line 2, and it was late at night, I was on the subway, and I always had felt safe in Korea up until then. And then this elderly man gets onto the subway, and you can see he's drunk, he's falling all over the place, and then he just starts looking at me, and he comes towards me, and then he starts speaking to me in Korean, and I'm like, 죄송합니다, 한국말 잘 못해요. Like, I don't speak Korean. And then he kept like speaking to me, and I could understand a little bit. He was saying, oh, you're beautiful, this and this and this, like, come with me. And then I was like, ah. Anyway, and then luckily this girl next to me saved my life. She could speak English really well, and she was telling this guy, like, please stop this girl, she's my friend, like, you're making her really uncomfortable. Her boyfriend is, like, I didn't have a boyfriend, but she's like, her boyfriend is coming to pick her up. Please stop, you're making her uncomfortable. And then he would just not leave me alone. This guy was just so fixed on me, and I was just speaking to this girl like, thank you so much, you're a lifesaver. And then we started chatting after that, and she told me about a boyfriend who's also French, and then we were speaking about French and France, but that's beside the point. Anyway, and then this guy would not leave me alone. He would not leave me. He was like, ah, it was so horrible. And then his friends eventually, so funny, his friends took him. I know, like, his friends could have intervened earlier, but anyway, I'm glad they did when they did. But they just took him, and they like threw him off. They like pushed him off one of the stops. I'm guessing it was where he lived, but he would not he would not let up. He would, like, he was obsessed with me.
Why you so obsessed with me?
And then anyway, so they like pushed him off eventually, his friends. And yeah, so that happened. A few weird things that happened to me also before. Then the one time I felt like I was followed. This guy was just really weird and dodgy and kind of drunk, I think, and then maybe it was in my head, but it really felt like he was following me. So then I took a detour before going back home. But yeah, I guess you're never safe anywhere, but in Korea you are a lot safer than South Africa, so that was nice to feel safe. Like, you can literally leave your bag. I could leave my phone, like, I could just leave it chilling out when I'm having coffee on my table, and nothing, no one would touch it. Like, people don't steal. Also, there's CCTV cameras everywhere, so it's not like you could steal if you wanted to. Like, you watched all the time. Just a weird, you're always on camera. Even when I was teaching, knowing that there's a CCTV watching me all the time, like I get it, and it's safer, I guess, but also it's weird just knowing that you're always on camera, like, all the time. Everywhere, in shops, streets, every street corner, most street corners, there's CCTV cameras. Yeah. Now let's talk about the products. So the products are really amazing. The beauty products, the lipsticks, the eye makeup, the creams, the masks. So many procedures people get done, like peels and laser, and like there's just so many beauty procedures that you can get done for like a reasonable price. And it's also the top doctors, top surgeons in the world. There's a place called Gangnam. I went and stayed there with my mom, and literally every third woman had bandages all over her face. And it's not a thing. So many people get surgery. One Korean man was telling us, I think it was the owner of the hotel, he was saying that every single girl on their 18th birthday, they want, so their dad like owes them for their graduation gift double eyelid surgery, so they get double eyelids. So apparently also I think plastic surgery is normal, but if it's very visible and very apparent, then it's frowned upon. There's so many things. I can make a second video if you guys are interested. I can make another whole video about all the things that I experienced there. Also, some things are not considered rude, like let's just say relieving or expelling bodily things. A guy spat on my shoe once, and yeah, that was not fun. My friend said that this old lady spat in the subway as well. Like people like spit. And it's normal for them. I'm not saying, like, I'm not gonna judge, because I mean it's just normal in their culture. It's not in ours. It doesn't mean it's wrong. So yeah, but it was interesting. It was definitely interesting. There's still so many things. It was such a huge culture shock. Oh, another thing about how you dress. So in Korea, shoulders are very sexualized. So like you can't, I think it's changing now. I mean, globalization, everything is changing. They don't mind showing you your whole leg. But then when it comes to your shoulders, that's sexualized. And definitely cleavage, like definitely not cleavage. Cleavage is very frowned upon, especially by the old generations. This friend of mine was wearing like a tank top, and then this old woman like started yelling at her and saying how she's dressed so inappropriately. And yeah, and then it's so focused on aesthetics. My friend and my coworker and I were in a lift once in the elevator, and this old lady started pointing at us, and she was pointing at my friend's nose like, oh, you, and it's all about having a small face. So she's like, oh, your face is so small, your nose is so beautiful. Like she was just doing this with her face. And then when they pose in photos, they often do this, because it's all about having a slim face, big eyes, small nose, so small features and big eyes, kind of like maybe it's similar to anime kind of aesthetic or whatever. But they would have like, they would pose like this and like this, because it's all about trying to make that, give that illusion of having a slim face, you know what I mean? And pale skin. People live with their parents. Also, that's another thing. It's not controversial to live with your parents until you're like a certain age. So like people live with their parents till they're adults, until they get married and move in with their husband or wife. I had a very good experience. I mean, okay, no, I had a very interesting experience. I learned a lot about myself, about other cultures. It really took me out of my comfort zone. It made me a lot stronger, and there's still so much to say that's so different about their culture. But if you're interested, I can make another video. My battery is about to die. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you thought in the comments, or if you've had similar experiences or what you'd like to know more about.
식으로 널 정의하지 않을 거야. 우린 규정들을 멀리하지. 그래 보고 싶어 나는 너의 그대로를. 너는 그런 내 마음 안에 있는데 넌 너무 예뻐 이미 다 알잖아. 늑대들의 눈빛이 너를 향해 가잖아. 넌 내게 어떤 환상도 줄 수 있어. 이제 내 옆에 와도 토막에 두껍게 이제 맞아줘. 노을 같은 너의 그 입술이 바다 같은 너의 그 입술이 내겐 어떤 별보다 이쁘지. 너에게로 이어진